Welcome back to the Deep Dive. Today, we're taking a bit of a detour from the usual EHX fare, the classic fuzz and modulation.
Yeah, definitely shifting gears a bit.
We are diving into a piece of gear that really marked a pivot for them. The Electro Harmonix platform stereo compressor limiter.
Mm-hmm.
Now, our sources, they frame this thing immediately, not just as another guitar pedal, right?
Yeah.
But as their flagship dynamics processor.
Absolutely. Studio-grade capability. That was the promise.
Exactly. Studio grade, but packed into a pretty standard medium-sized pedal enclosure. This wasn't your simple two-knob squish box. It was about, surgical control.
It really was. And I think our mission today is sort of nailing down that technical compromise, or maybe innovation is the better word.
How so?
Well, think about it. High-end stereo compressors, the rack units, they cost thousands. They take up loads of space.
Sure.
So how did EHX manage to pack a comprehensive multi-instrument stereo dynamics with all those advanced features into a stomp box that players could actually afford and fit on their board?
That's a great question. And it sets up the core question for you, the listener. What technical leaps, or maybe design choices, did EHX make to bring that pro-level utility down to the floor?
Let's unpack that. Maybe start with the timeline, where this fit in.
Good idea. When did this actually hit the scene?
So the platform came out around 2018, maybe 2019. And you got to remember where EHX was coming from then.
They had compressors already, right?
Yeah. They had the Soul Preacher, which is, simple, compact, and the Black Finger, the Tube one.
Okay.
But both were mostly mono, really guitar-centric, very simplified controls compared to this.
Right. And the platform, its whole mission felt different. It was like EHX saying, okay, we're serious about general audio utility now.
Precisely. It was explicitly built to handle not just guitar and bass, which you'd expect, but also pro-line level sources, keyboards, synths.
Wow. So that opens it up way beyond just guitarists, multi-instrumentalists, small studio setups.
Exactly. And that versatility is baked into the hardware itself. To really handle modern setups, especially keys and synth, it had to be full stereo.
Stereo inputs and outputs.
Yep. And doing that kind of complex high-fidelity stereo processing, that really points towards digital signal processing, DSP.
Okay, so why DSP? Why not just stick with analog components like their older stuff? Wouldn't that be more, traditional EHX?
Well, for this specific feature set, probably not feasible in this size and price point. Analog compression is great, no doubt.
What?
But trying to get precise stereo tracking, plus all those variable parameters, attack, release, ratio, threshold, volume, and keep it small, analog circuitry for that would get huge and expensive fast.
So the DSP is like the brains of the operation.
Kind of, yeah. It lets them run complex algorithms, the kind you used to only find in rack gear, inside this little box. It's essentially a mini computer focused just on dynamics.
Which explains the power requirement. Standard 9-volt DC, but needs more current, right?
Exactly. It's got to power that chip. It's doing a lot more work than a simple analog fuzz.
Okay, let's talk controls then. Because this feature set really shouts studio tool, doesn't it?
Oh, absolutely.
You've got threshold, attack, release, ratio, and volume. Those 5 knobs, that's the language of serious dynamics processing.
And critically, the sources mention it uses soft knee compression with smooth envelope tracking.
Okay, break that down. Knee. Soft knee versus hard knee. Why does that matter here?
So the knee is how the compression kicks in once the signal hits the threshold. Hard knee is like a switch bam. Full compression ratio applied. It can be abrupt, sometimes audible, that pumping sound people talk about.
Right.
Soft knee is gradual. As the signal approaches the threshold, the compression ratio ramps up smoothly.
And why is that better for this pedal?
For a multi-instrument pedal like this, that smoothness is key for musicality. Think about electric piano or bass guitar instruments with big dynamic swings. Soft knee tames the peaks without sounding obvious or unnatural.
Makes sense. And the smooth envelope tracking just helps that.
Yeah, it just ensures the attack and release are, smooth. No clicks, no weird artifacts when the compression engages or disengages. It keeps it clean.
Got it. So beyond the core compression, there's the dedicated limiter mode. That feels like another nod to the studio world.
Oh, absolutely essential. What the limiter does, practically speaking, is act like a safety net.
How so?
It prevents the signal from ever going above a set maximum level. Think brick wall limiting. It just stops it cold.
And that's crucial for
Line level gear mainly. Hot synths, drum machines, things that can throw out really sudden loud peaks. Those transients can clip the input of whatever's next in your chain, your interface, another pedal. The limiter just catches those spikes, keeps the signal clean, prevents nasty digital clipping or overloading analog stages downstream.
It's like insurance for your signal chain.
Pretty much, yeah.
Okay, so we've got the Pro controls, the soft knee, the limiter, but they also included a dedicated sustain knob. That feels more like familiar guitar pedal territory.
It does, and it was smart. It gives guitarists that familiar function-making notes, ring out longer blending, that studio utility feel, with something instantly recognizable from classic stompbox compressors.
A nice bridge between the two worlds.
Which kind of leads us to maybe the most important feature they packed in there, certainly for the pedal market at the time. The blend control.
Ah, the dry-wet knob.
Yeah.
This unlocks parallel compression, right? Explain why that's such a big deal compared to just, turning down the volume on a fully compressed signal.
Okay, so parallel compression is huge in mixing. The problem with heavy compression is, it makes things punchy and consistent, but it can also totally squash the life out of the dynamics, especially those initial hits, the transients.
They just disappear.
Exactly. What the blend knob lets you do is keep your original uncompressed dry signal completely intact. All its natural attack and dynamics are still there.
Okay.
And then you mix in the heavily compressed wet signal underneath it.
Ah, so you get the best of both worlds.
Pretty much. You get the density, the punch, the sustain from the compressed signal, plus the natural attack and dynamic feel from the dry signal. It makes things sound loud and powerful, but still alive and dynamic.
That's a classic studio technique. Putting it right on the pedal is pretty powerful.
It really is. It lets users get that professional thickness without needing complex routing or a mixing desk. Huge feature.
And they didn't even stop there, did they? They added tone shaping tools, specifically thinking about stereo users, like the expander.
Yeah, the stereo expander or enhancer. This is a massive plus, especially if you're running keyboards or maybe a stereo guitar rig.
What's it actually doing?
Well, stereo patches, like pads or electric pianos, can sometimes sound a bit flat or narrow, even if they are stereo. The expander uses some clever phase and time manipulation, basically, to push the sound outwards.
Making it sound wider.
Dramatically wider, often. Makes the whole soundstage feel bigger, more immersive than just the raw stereo signal. Adds real depth, especially to ambient sounds.
Okay, so you've got dynamics control, parallel processing, stereo widening, and then there's drive mode too, adding grit.
Yep. A bit of harmonic saturation. It pushes the pedal from just being a clean utility into actual tone-shaping territory.
Is it like full-on distortion or more subtle?
More subtle, generally. Think musical clipping, adding some presence, some edge. Not an overdrive pedal replacement, but enough to add warmth, maybe a bit of tube-like character to bass.
Or help a guitar lead cut through.
Exactly. It gives it that bit of extra sustain and bite, makes it more aggressive, so it can be clean and pristine, or add a little character.
And then finally, just a simple tone control to polish things off.
Yeah, basically a high-frequency tilt lets you add some sparkle or tame some harshness, especially if you've cranked the drive or the expander is making things really bright.
It really does sound like an all-in-one dynamics box.
It really tried to be. Which leads us into how people actually use this thing, because that versatility is its biggest strength.
Right. So for guitarists, you mentioned funk or country players liking that smooth compression for tight, clean parts.
Yeah, that soft knee is perfect for that. Keeps everything even without sounding squashed.
But then you flip on the drive, use the sustain.
And suddenly you've got this big singing lead tone, loads of sustain, but the limiter keeps it from getting out of control. Very versatile for guitar.
And bass players must love that blend knob.
Oh, arguably even more than guitarists. Bass frequencies are tricky. Compress them hard, you get punch, but you can easily lose the low-end definition, the attack. It gets muddy.
So blending keeps the thump.
Exactly. You blend the compressed signal for the density and consistency, but keep the dry signal mixed in for that clear attack and the fundamental low notes. Powerful and clear.
And the limiter for slap and pop.
Essential. Those transients are super sharp, easy to clip things down the line. The platform just tames them without killing the vibe.
Okay, but keyboards and synths seem like the real sweet spot for this design.
I think so, yeah. Because it's true stereo, you can run those complex stereo patches, pads, electric pianos with panning effects right through it without collapsing the image to mono.
Which a lot of standard guitar compressors would do.
Absolutely. So imagine a keyboardist with a big, lush pad sound.
Okay.
They use the expander to make it sound massive, really wide. Then they use the soft knee compression to gently control the overall level so it sits nicely in the mix, doesn't swamp everything.
And the limiter catches any unexpected filter sweeps or resonance peaks.
You got it. It's specialized utility, but in a pedal format. Super useful for gigging keyboardists or synth players.
And you mentioned small studios, too, as a sort of mix bus light.
Yeah, definitely. Since it handles line level, you could absolutely strap it across the stereo output of a small mixer or interface.
For final limiting or just adding some glue?
Both. Use the compression subtly to help glue the mix elements together, then engage the limiter just to catch peaks before you bounce the track. It could genuinely fill the role of a basic mastering processor in a home setup.
It really does blur that line between a pedal and rack gear.
Completely.
So looking back at EHX's lineup then, this was a major step up, wasn't it? Way beyond the Soul Preacher.
Oh, totally different league. The Soul Preacher is simple, effective, but basic. No blend, no stereo, very few controls.
And the Blackfinger?
The Blackfinger is its own thing, tube-driven, more about adding a specific color, still primarily mono, still guitar-focused. The platform was different, more ambitious.
It felt like a new philosophy almost.
I think so. It was pretty unique in the pedal market at that time. Very few companies, if any, were offering a single box with full stereo compression, limiting, parallel blend, and stereo expansion, all with that level of control at that sort of mid-market price.
It was EHX saying, we do serious utility tools too, not just wild effects.
Exactly. It definitely helped broaden their reputation beyond, big muffs and small clones. Showed they were serious about pro-grade, problem-solving gear.
So it demonstrated this commitment to musicians needing really precise control across different instruments, different settings.
Yeah. It kind of changed the expectation of what a utility pedal could be. Not just a simple on-off effect, but a really powerful piece of audio hardware.
Okay, so if we boil it down, what are the key takeaways, the lasting impact of the platform?
Well, first, I'd say it really pushed the market forward. It showed that complex dynamics processing, like parallel compression and stereo features, could be done affordably in a pedal. That put pressure on other makers.
Right. Features started trickling down.
Second point. Second, it bridged that gap between the studio and the stage, or maybe the home studio and the pedal board, bringing line-level handling, brick wall limiting, soft knee compression features usually found in racks down to the floor. Democratized it a bit.
Okay.
Third, for EHX specifically, it cemented their reputation beyond just vintage style effects. It proved they could handle modern DSP and deliver high-fidelity, functional utility.
And fourth,
it really became a go-to for the multi-instrumentalist. That unique combination of features meant one pedal could do the job for guitar, bass, keys, making it incredibly versatile and valuable for players juggling different instruments.
makes sense. That really sums it up well.
Yeah.
So that brings us to the end of our deep dive on the EHX platform stereo compressor limiter. It's a really fascinating example, isn't it? How sometimes the biggest innovations aren't about creating a totally new sound, but about perfecting the tools we use to control sound.
Absolutely.
Foundational stuff.
It delivered that sophisticated, studio-level dynamic control, parallel compression, stereo expansion, limiting all in a flexible pedal that worked for pretty much anyone.
A real workhorse. So here's a final thought for you to chew on. Given how much technical sophistication went into a utility pedal like the platform, maybe think about your own sound. How much of the magic you're chasing comes from flashy effects versus just having really solid controlled dynamics? Could it be that these often overlooked utility tools are actually the secret weapon for achieving that truly professional sound quality?
Something to consider.
Definitely something to consider. We'll see you next time on The Deep Dive.